What's up, everybody? Welcome back to my channel and welcome to the last interview in celebration of Hispanic Heritage Month for this year. And I have with me here Sophia Wishes.
Hello.
Hello. Sophia here is a fellow YouTuber. I came across her channel a while ago actually because when I did my video on the Garifuna people, I was searching online for other videos relating to the culture, and that is where I came across her channel. So, Sophia, would you mind just telling the audience more or less what your channel is about? I know you haven't really been active on it lately, but just so the audience knows what they can expect to see there.
Yes, so my type of content, well, what you will find is it's kind of like a little bit fun, bubbly. You'll find a little bit of education. You'll have conversation on there. It's more of a conversation-based channel, and I do plan on graduating the channel into something a little bit more educational, where we can have critical thinking, we can work together and just bounce ideas off of each other, and of course have more education with the Latin American community, just be a little bit more open, and maybe even have a video in Spanish one day.
Okay, that's what's up.
Yeah.
I have only done one or two videos in Spanish.
Really, the whole thing?
Yeah, I mean it was a short video, very short video.
Okay.
But yeah, I think it's only been two
Uh-huh.
that I did entirely in Spanish because even though I know I'm fluent, but still it's kind of like I don't know, it's still kind of nerve-wracking a little bit, and it's like I don't know if I can talk for that long entirely in Spanish in the video, but
yeah.
okay, gotcha. All right, so I didn't mention this in the beginning, but Sophia, if you couldn't tell by the flags, she is Hondureña, Honduran background, and she's also Garifuna. So I've been wanting to get someone who was, of the Garifuna culture since last year. I reached out to 4 y'all in total, and you have been the one that agreed. So I'm like so excited to have you here. So, would you mind telling us a little bit about your family background and where in Honduras is your family from?
Yes. So both of my parents are from Honduras. They're both Garifuna. Garifuna is like their first language. Well, I guess they learned Spanish and Garifuna at the same time. My mom is from Triunfo de la Cruz, and my dad, I believe, is from San Pedro Sula. I believe. So yeah, they're both from there. But I was born here in the U.S. We've gone to Honduras, I think, twice. No, maybe 3 times since. But yeah, that's my background, and they've always made sure that we knew like who we were from a very young age. Like, as a kid, like if a kid in high school or elementary school had anything to say about us, we knew who we were. Like, we had a rebuttal. We knew. Yeah.
Okay, so you went there 3 times. Do you remember much about Honduras and how it was? Was it a while since you went?
So the first time I was 2, don't really remember that one. Okay. The second time I was 12, and the third I was 20, and I'm 27, so I have not gone in 7 years. Yeah.
Okay, so what do you remember about it? As far as like how it looks, the people, are there any like distinct memories that come to mind when you think of your time in Honduras?
For sure, like my parents are from a small village, so the beach is literally a walk away, just a few meters away. We can walk there. My uncle has a restaurant there, so I just think of like the food that he cooks. I think of like the culture, like people will get together in a circle and dance punta, and everyone just takes their turn going in the middle of the circle. The chickens walking on the street, it's organic. You just take one, and it's just all everyone knows each other. Everyone's very close. Everyone looks out for each other. And it definitely humbles me as far as like in comparison, but I love it's how I know what I know today. Like if I needed to survive, if I know that I don't need much in life. All you need is family, and you're good. You can survive anything. So I love going.
I think a lot of cultures that you find throughout Latin America are like that, and especially in more either coastal areas or more rural areas, or what we would consider like campo areas. It's definitely still that lifestyle, very communal. Everybody knows each other. People look out for each other. And then, of course, as far as like the food and everything is all natural. So that is definitely something that I appreciate, going back to, well, in my case, DR. And it is also a very humbling experience. So, I say it all the time on my channel. for us Hispanic Americans that were born here in the U.S., it's definitely a good thing to always go back to your parents' countries and experience how they live over there.
Yeah.
So next, I want to ask you, for anyone watching that may not know who the Garifuna people are, would you mind giving us just like a kind of like a brief history of who you guys are and how you guys came to be?
Yes. So Garifuna is an Afro-Indigenous culture. It's a language and it's also a culture. So other Black people from other countries, they wouldn't be considered Garifuna because our story is like very specific. So how I was told the story, and anybody could correct me in the comments, how I was told the story about my parents is we were on the slave ship on our way to the New World. The boat had crashed, and the Africans that were on the boat took over, got rid of the capturers, and they settled in St. Vincent Island. And on St. Vincent Island is where the Arawak Indians were already. And so we intermingled with them and became the Garifuna people. Because since it's a language, it's a mixture of like African language. I believe there's a little, I'm not sure if there's a little French in there. It's a mixture of, it's a dialect. So it's a mixture of a lot of cultures. And that's how we developed our culture. Then eventually we were exiled from that island to Honduras, where the people were welcoming to us, and we just settled there, and we've been there ever since. But we are also in Belize, I believe Guatemala, Honduras. I want to say somewhere else. I know we're in more places. I do.
I think there's some in Nicaragua as well.
Nicaragua,
right?
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So I don't know if that's all of the places. And there's a lot of us in the U.S. After making that Garifuna video, I had no idea how many of us were here. But yeah.
Okay. All right, so yeah, that pretty much aligns with the research that I found when I looked it up, as far as like them arriving in St. Vincent, mixing with the indigenous people, becoming the Black Caribs, and then from there being taken to Honduras, or wasn't like Roatan?
Roatan, yeah.
Right?
Yep.
Yeah.
That's where we first settled.
Yeah. From there, kind of dispersing into Belize. There's a little bit of y'all in Guatemala, Nicaragua, etc.
You did your research, yes.
Yeah.
That's correct.
Yeah, no, I did a little bit. Like I was telling you before we started recording, I had no idea what a Garifuna was.
Really?
And I also heard that the Garifuna are the only Black people that never went through slavery.
You know, now that you meant, I knew. The thing is, I knew it, but I didn't know that we were the only ones.
Okay, I mean, at least that's what I recently, I don't know where I heard this or read this, but somewhere recently I read that the Garifuna people are the only enslaved people that were brought over that never really went through slavery.
We were never enslaved. Yeah.
Yes. That's not really a part of y'all's history.
Right. It's 1,000,000% true. That's so true. Wow. I just didn't know we were the only ones. That's like big.
Yeah. I mean, if there happens to be any more, I don't know. But
yeah, I would love to know. But yeah. Wow.
Okay. So could you also tell us a little bit about Garifuna culture? Like as far as any, say, traditions, music, food that y'all participate in that you like to share with us?
So as far as, like I mentioned, I was born here and I've only been to Honduras a handful of times. But what my parents have been able to incorporate and like bring into the household is definitely machuca is a staple in the Garifuna community. So it's just a soup with plata, the green plantain. It's kind of like Dominicans do the mango, but it's in a soup. And then you got shrimp, you have crab in there, and it's like coconut milk. It's so good. And then we have pan de coco, casabe. We have ¿qué más? That's the food part that I can only recall at this moment. And then the dance, of course, Punta, P-U-N-T-A, is our signature dance. That's part of our culture as well. Garifuna music. taught me Garifuna. So if I hear it, I know that that's our language. But as far as like words, I probably just know my alphabet, my numbers, and water. So I'm not exactly sure why we didn't learn. We learned Spanish more than we learned Garifuna, so we didn't learn too much, which it's not too late. Like, I definitely want to be more immersed in the culture and get to know more people. Of course, my family, but people outside of my family, you know, I think we need to stick together, and it would be really nice to just learn the language. But other than that, I know that we're very close. We look out for each other, and yeah.
I do remember hearing about the machuca, and
Yeah.
I came across a video on YouTube also where they were making it.
Really?
Maybe I'll try and put that or find that video and see if I can put it on here. So I definitely remember that. And of course, punta. I mean, I think that's probably the thing y'all are most recognized for. Which, speaking of punta, I mean, at this point, I think a lot of people just consider it an Honduran dance versus a Garifuna dance. Do you guys ever feel a way about that?
Well, growing up, I knew that my mom would mention that growing up, punta was specifically, of course, it originates from us, and it was specifically our dance.
Yeah.
And just like something like twerking that originally was, you know, not founded, but, you know, originally created by Black people, and then it just over time it became everybody else. But it was seen as like bad. Not bad, but it was seen as like, well, that's, you know, the Black people dance type of thing. It wasn't. It was separate as far as association. But now it's like considered a Honduran dance. So that's what I was told as far as like how it came to be. But now it's a little bit more accepted, and you know, everyone does it, which is fine. But you know, we need to know who originated, who created the dance. So that's us. Yeah.
Yeah. I think the first punta or commercialized punta song that I heard was Sopa de Caracol. You know, that's the one that everybody knows. I didn't realize, when I was a kid hearing it, I didn't realize, this is a form of dance called punta. But eventually I myself thought, punta is just a dance from Honduras.
Right.
But it wasn't until, again, later that I found out who the Garifuna were, that I found out, this originates specifically from the Garifuna people. So with all that being said, do most Garifuna people consider themselves part of the greater Hispanic or Latino world? Like, do you identify as a Hispanic or Latina as well as being Garifuna?
Yeah, it's a really good question, because they're I wouldn't say they're two different. No, they are two different cultures somewhat. But I do identify as Hispanic, and I do also identify as Garifuna. But there are some Garifunas that don't identify as Hispanic, because like Belize, for example, isn't a Spanish-speaking country. So because I'm Honduran, that's why I consider myself Hispanic. But let's say if I were, you know, from a different, like Belize, then for example, then I would just be Garifuna. But yeah, I consider to be both.
Okay. And do you feel like the Garifuna people are, I guess, accepted within the Hispanic realm, or even within like Honduran people? Like, do you feel like you are seen as just the same as any other Honduran? Or do you
I can only speak from my experience, but I would say yes. When you come to the United States, it's a little bit of a different story. But when you're in Honduras, everyone gets along pretty well. It's not like, it's definitely nowhere near the history of the United States. So it's not like segregation or anything type of vibes. But yeah, I would definitely say that we do feel included. As far as like when you come to the US, and like, let's say I'm around a whole bunch of Hispanics, even though there are Black people in every single Spanish speaking country, I don't know why people act surprised all the time. But yeah, as far as like us being in Honduras, I could be ignorant on this, but I haven't heard of any like type of clash between us and like you know, other Hondurans.
Okay.
So, yeah.
Okay. I only asked because I somehow came across a few Garifuna people on TikTok. Some of them were kind of speaking on something related to this subject, and I guess maybe some of
Okay.
them felt like there is some, I don't know, maybe racism or something there.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I guess it just depends on people's individual experiences.
Exactly. It just depends, especially because I'm not there. I don't live there, so I
Yeah.
don't want to speak on their experience. As far as like what my parents hear from, aunts and uncles back home, I don't hear anything. But it can be a different story for different parts. So I definitely don't want to mislead anybody with that information because that's pretty much all I know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Gotcha. Okay. So, since most of your experience has been here in the United States, how has it been as far as your interactions with other groups of people, whether it be other Hispanics or non-Hispanics? Were you able to grow up with other Hondurans where you grew up? Like, were there other Hondurans
No.
there?
Yeah, unfortunately, no. So I was born on an army base. My dad was in the army. So most Hondurans, when they first get here, they either go to like New York. Most of everybody goes to New York. I have family in New York, Honduras, in Houston, nowhere else. And so my point with that is when up north, it's very diverse. A lot of people, don't really have to explain themselves. So when you're mixed with a whole bunch of people and I say I'm Hispanic, you're like, oh, cool. When you come to the South, which is I've been in like Texas, Oklahoma, and Georgia, where I reside right now, it's like you're an alien. So growing up has been, I wouldn't say it's hard, but it gets frustrating a little bit because I don't realize that people do not know that I don't exist. So it's until they're like super surprised and shocked. I'm like, oh, I have to explain myself. But not only that, it's like I can tell you I'm Honduran and there's more questions that follow. It's like that's not enough. It's like, oh, really? How? Are both of your parents black? Wait, so that means you speak Spanish? Say something in Spanish. It's just not a straight thing. So that's probably the difficulty that it comes with is just like the education system and the fact that we're not talked about, and that's why people don't know about us. We're not talked about that much in the media. I do see more improvement now, but before growing up, like we're not even in novelas, so it's kind of it's a very interesting experience to be in a culture, but when the U.S. paints Hispanic as one thing, no one can see other than that. Like they can only see that one thing, and if you don't fit that one thing, I don't know. It's very interesting. It is very interesting. But yeah, but day by day it gets better. Like especially with the internet, more and more people hear about Black Hispanics, see Black Hispanics. There's like I think a Disney movie coming out, and have you seen like the trailer for it? It's called like Canta, Encantado. I don't know what it's called.
I'm not sure.
It's coming out, but like it has like all different shades of the rainbow in there, and I think there was some musical that came out. There was some controversy on that. But that's not the point. The point is things are getting better, and so that's just all I can hope for. I hope that my kids won't have to explain why they look the way that they look, and it's knowing different languages, no matter what color you are, or knowing different languages shouldn't be questioned. So,
that's a very interesting statement that you made, that you weren't aware that people don't know you exist. Like, wow. And everything you were saying, though, is things that I've heard a lot of, Black Hispanics say, or chocolate Hispanics, African Hispanics, however you want to call yourself. It's very much the experience of a lot of us here. And like you said, when you grow up in places like New York, where I feel like there is a lot of more melanated Hispanics up there, it's not a surprise for most people because a lot up there you're running into a lot of Dominicans, a lot of us darker skinned, maybe some darker skinned Puerto Ricans, maybe, I don't know, but like Panamanians, dark skinned Panamanians. So it's like, I mean, you don't really question it, but like for me, I grew up in Virginia, so I kind of had that similar experience of people not necessarily being used to seeing darker skinned Hispanics. So you say that you're Hispanic, you get those questions. Like you said, it's not enough to just say that you're Hispanic. It's like, oh, really? Now, in my case, when I say Dominican, okay, sometimes there's like okay. Because, a lot of us are darker skinned. But in the case of like somebody from Central America, where I think the first image that people think of is like a mestizo person, lighter skin, I see why it might be even harder for you. But that's why, you know, representation is so important. And not just that, but education. Because I mean, yeah, just a few years ago, a lot of people here didn't realize that there were Black people in Latin America, which to me was crazy.
That's crazy.
But it wasn't until, like for example, the term Afro Latino started to get really popular. That's when I think more people became aware.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, even thinking back to my education here in the U.S., like you're not really, I mean, you're taught about the slave trade and how, you know, enslaved Africans were taken to other parts of the Americas, but it's like you don't put two and two together. I guess because the focus is so much just here on the U.S.,
Exactly.
you don't get so much into the history as far as like the Caribbean and Central and South America goes. So yeah, but I agree with you though that I do think there has been an improvement there.
Yeah.
With more people realizing, you know, Black people are everywhere, you know, not just the U.S. And in the case of the Garifuna people specifically,
right,
I do think there has been an improvement there too.
Yes, I'm seeing so much more Garifuna representation pretty much everywhere, and it's shocking to me every time. I'm like, people know we exist. People know we exist. It's I love it. I absolutely love it. I'm seeing more of it. Like I didn't even know Dr. Sabi. You know who Dr. Sabi is? He's like a he died, but
no, yeah. I know who you're talking about.
Yeah, I had no idea he was Garifuna until maybe last year. I was like, oh wow,
really?
that? Yeah, I had no idea. But as far as like famous Garifuna people, I don't know that many. I'm sure there are way more than I know of, but I love seeing way more representation. It's amazing.
Yeah, I think I've heard some conspiracies regarding Dr. Sabi.
Really?
Yeah, I mean, I'm gonna say right now, but yeah, I've heard some interesting things regarding him and his death and what really may have happened there. But
yeah, I've heard that too. He's the only like known name that I can think of at this moment.
Okay. There's like a few pages that I follow that are like well, they're actually like Caribbean music pages, but a lot of times they include punta and they've included a few Garifuna artists. Some of them are based out of the US, but you know, I have heard of a few. I can't think of them off the top of my head right now. Maybe I'll find one and include it. But yeah, no, that's what's up though. I'm sure for you it's very like, I don't know, it's encouraging to see that, you know, because everybody wants to feel seen, you know?
Yeah.
So that's a great thing. One of my questions was going to be, even though you kind of already answered it, but just this whole feeling of, because a lot of people say, oh, I was too Black to be Spanish, but too Spanish to be Black. So I was going to ask if that was like your experience, but yeah, you kind of already answered.
Yeah, that tends to happen because you look a certain way, so people automatically assume that you share the same experience as them. So when you say that you're something else, you have different reactions. Some people will be super accepting about it. Some people will think you're trying to be something that you're not. You'll have opposite sides of the spectrum, but I personally I prefer someone to treat me however they're going to treat me. I'm not going to prove anything to you. I'm not going to come busting out in Spanish when you were already discriminating against me. I'm not going to sit here and try to prove myself to you. I'm not that person. So but yeah, it just depends. You get different people. If it's a negative reaction, it just comes from ignorance. They really truly don't know. But after I educate you and you still decide to be ignorant, well, that's on you. But
yeah, pretty much at that point.
It happens.
Yeah. As far as like other Latin cultures are concerned, are there any that that you have, I guess, whose music that you really enjoy, or like what are some of your favorite like genres of Latin music?
Well, I have to say, I mean, punta has to be number one. I love bachata. I would love to learn salsa. Oh, the feet. I'm always looking down. I cannot do the turns. We're doing too much, but I would love to learn salsa, merengue, cumbia. Cumbia is like that's one of my favorites. But yeah, those are like my top.
Okay. Yeah, salsa, I mean, I would say that's probably the most difficult or complex as far as the footwork goes out of all of them. But no, I'm well, you know, I'm Dominican, so of course I want to learn bachata. I would say, but bachata, that's like my thing right there. I'm definitely a bachata girl. Merengue, salsa, I do like salsa. To be honest, cumbia is actually one of the genres that I've least listened to.
Really?
Dominicans don't really listen to cumbia like that. That's
I
probably
agree.
why. We
That's
mainly,
probably right.
I mean, all the Dominican parties, at least my family parties and other Dominican parties that are gone to, or like clubs, it's always either salsa, merengue, bachata.
Yeah,
Those
those
are
are
like
the
our three
standards.
main things we listen to. So cumbia, we didn't really listen to it as far as like within my family, but since I grew up in an area that is very heavily populated by Central Americans, it's kind of hard to miss it. So
Yeah.
you go to the Latin supermarket and they're playing cumbia,
Yeah.
or like or your friends. One of my best friends is Salvadorian, so I was able to hear that growing up as
Yeah.
well. Yeah, and then punta, yeah, I definitely like it. I was trying to learn how to dance it, so
Uh-huh.
the past 3 years I've done like a Latin music playlist video for Hispanic Heritage Month where I'm like dancing to different styles of music from Latin America, and I always include one punta in there, and I always give a
Really?
disclaimer, yeah, like guys, I don't really know how to dance punta, okay, don't judge me, I'm gonna try. So I mean I danced it, but because I was looking up tutorials because there's a specific way that y'all do it,
Yeah.
like the butt movement. It's not. I don't know how to explain it. It's something. I remember watching one girl do it. It's something with the feet also.
Yes.
Like the plant, like the way you put your feet.
Yeah. It's
And
all
then,
in the feet. Yeah. It starts
yes,
in the feet. And then
yes,
you're not quite on your tippy toes, but you kind of rely on that.
yeah,
This part of
yeah.
your foot. And it's you isolate the top and you just gotta focus all in the hips and but the feet are the foundation. Like if you don't have the feet, you don't have nothing.
Right, because
Yeah.
people think you're just kind of just rotating your butt, but not really.
No. Yeah.
So yeah, I haven't quite mastered it, but I'm gonna get it.
You're gonna get it. You're gonna get it. I believe in you.
Yeah, so that's pretty cool. I definitely like that. It seems like y'all's culture in general is very Caribbean. Really,
Yes.
right? Very Caribbean.
I grew up on some Caribbean music too. Like I remember growing up, my mom just dancing in the living room to Caribbean music. So to this day, like I have a whole Caribbean and Hispanic playlist all mixed into one because it's very that's how it is. Like we have the drums in there, and it's all about the beat, and you just follow the beat, which of course comes from the African, our African roots. And so I mean, our African roots are what helped all of this music come to be. So you gotta love it. Yeah.
That is true. Nah, I've mentioned that before on my channel. Like the majority really of the most popular music
Yeah.
in Latin America came from the Black people in Latin America. Whether people want to accept it or not, it's just the truth.
It's the
The
truth.
majority. Cumbia started with Black Colombians.
Right.
Salsa, I mean, that beat, those rhythms came from Black Cubans, and
Yep.
I mean, a lot of merengue is a heavy African influence there. So even reggaeton, because reggaeton, I mean, it started with Panamanians or Jamaicans that went to Panama, and then the Jamaicans are in the majority Black. So it's great. I mean, it comes back to like the Black for the most part.
Yep.
So
Influential.
yeah, gotta give our African ancestors their flowers on that.
That's right.
Yeah, some people love it so much. So you said you're in Georgia?
Yes.
Okay, okay. So when I did my video, going back to the video I did, I remember seeing there was like a map that showed some of like the highest concentrations of where Garifuna people are in the United States. Definitely New York. I remember seeing Texas there. So, I mean, I don't know how aware you are, but do you see that there's like different cultural events, like Garifuna events or like festivals? Do you know if they are done anywhere?
There are a few. I wouldn't say that there's none because I remember a few years back we were invited to a couple. I don't recall it being like big, but I mean there's a lot of people. But as far as like advertising, I think you have to like know another Garifuna to know what's going on because it's not like I recently I haven't heard anything, but I know I've been invited to 2 Garifuna events, and somehow we met another Garifuna and they let me know like, hey, we're doing this, and we went over and it was really cool. We had like tamarindo, there was baleadas, which is like a staple Honduran food, but there was little machuca, there was the drums. And I think people were just like selling things, but yeah, that's the last time I've ever gone to anything. But as far as like knowing of anything, probably be a part of like a Facebook group, Garifuna's Facebook group, something like that. But Recently, no, not that I know of.
Yeah, I mean, I definitely haven't seen anything like that here. I mean, I recently went to two Hispanic events because of Hispanic Heritage Month. They were like festivals. So the first one I went to in DC, they played punta when the
Oh,
it was like floats for every country, and when the Honduran one came by, they played punta, so that was cool.
that's
And
cool.
then I went to another much smaller event, like a weekend ago, and they played punta and stuff. So yeah, it's pretty cool to see that kind of getting represented.
I love
Yeah. What else have you talked about on your channel? I know you always talked about the Garifuna thing.
I want to make more videos on that. I plan on having my dad come on and my mom and just like maybe Garifuna 101, like try to teach me since I need to learn anyway. So maybe they could give me a little bit more of a rundown out of our history that maybe I may not be aware of from what they taught me. But I definitely want to have more Garifuna content, especially with such a positive response from that video. I really didn't think it was going to get that many. I didn't think it was going to get 100 views because I really was convinced nobody knew we existed. But it's really cool to see all the comments and see like, oh, we're here, we're in New Jersey, like we're in this town, we're here, and it was like, oh, I loved it.
Yeah, so it's probably a lot of like Garifuna people themselves that were looking for those type of videos.
Yeah,
Right?
yeah. I love it. It's crazy how the internet can like bring people together and
I know.
people, and what would we do without it? Like I can't really imagine a world without it anymore because our only way to the outside world for a long time was just TV. Like we didn't have social media. So now we can create our own content and we can come together and we can meet each other and support each other. And because you can create your own content, you are your own representation. You don't have to wait for a casting crew to show you. You can exist, on your own. So I love that.
Yeah, and that is a great point that you bring up. It reminds me of I don't know if you saw the musical In the Heights over the summer and like the whole drama.
I heard the controversy. That's why I didn't want to watch it because I heard about it and I was like, man. I was disappointed, but I can't judge it because I didn't see it, but I heard all the controversy about it.
Okay. Yeah, so I did a live stream regarding that and I gave my opinions on it because I did watch it. But something that I mentioned there was, we people always complaining, oh, you need to show more diversity, you need to show the Black or Hispanics, this and that. I'm like, but I was like, at this point, like Black or darker Hispanics need to take it into their own hands to create their own kind of avenues to represent themselves.
Right.
And at this point in the world and social media and technology, with everything that we have access to, there's no reason why we can't be doing that.
We can.
YouTube itself is a form of that. I know I've definitely used YouTube as a form to, represent for myself as a Dominican, also as a darker skinned Dominican. And, it comes with its own drama. But, at the end of the day, like we have the tools to do it. So instead of waiting on somebody else to do it yourself. I mean,
I 100% agree with you. That was my response too. Like, I understand the frustration, but if you want to be represented, we have to start somewhere. We cannot keep waiting for someone to do it. Like, we have to come together, be our own content creators, or come together and create some content for people, like good, because I know we're talented. I know that we can do it.
Yeah.
So it's just a matter of coming together to do it instead of waiting for someone to see us. We're here. We're already here. So all we have to do is come together and be seen.
Yeah. No, I totally agree. Was there anything else that you wanted to bring up as far as any other facts you'd like for people to know about your culture and your background that maybe I didn't mention or we haven't talked about already?
I really think you covered everything. I'm going to try to think of anything. I think you hit everything. And especially because you are Dominican, like you have an experience, so you already know the questions to ask because they're so relatable. So you covered everything.
Mm-hmm. It's interesting because I just feel like as a melanated Hispanic, people are very like, what's the word? It's like they're just kind of watching how you're gonna talk. Or, for
Mm,
example, if you say, "Oh, there's racism in Latin America," certain
mhm.
people will get triggered by that.
Yeah.
They're like, "No, there's not. We're not
Right.
like the U.S." Blah blah blah. And if you talk about your own experience, people will try to kind of gaslight you.
Yep.
Now personally, I've always been on the side. Well, as far as Dominicans are concerned,
Hmm.
and I've always said, yes, there have been instances of racism, but honestly, as a darker female, I can't really say that I experienced it,
Yeah.
honestly. And people
Right.
will try to like debate you on that. And I'm like,
Yeah.
well, you want me to make it up? I didn't really experience racism like that. I didn't see
Exactly.
it within my family
Right.
or even going to the yard, but that doesn't negate that there have been Dominicans that have experienced it. And
Exactly.
so I sometimes see when other Black Hispanics talk about their experiences in their respective countries,
Hmm.
people are like, oh, you're just trying to be a victim, blah, blah, blah. So it's just very interesting. I feel like people just kind of like they're just watching to see what you're going to say.
Yeah. No,
And,
I get that.
I've had people come at me in the past for things that I've said, even though I try to always be kind of fair and balanced in what I say
Yeah.
or just keep it factual.
Right.
But I don't know. It's just very interesting
It
experience that
is.
we
It's
have.
very interesting. Like you can't take away from someone else's experience. You can only speak from your own. So we have to like respect each other's stories. I'm not saying yours doesn't exist. I'm letting you know that this is my story. We don't have to be the representatives of each culture. Like I was saying, I've only been to Honduras 3 times. Yes, I'm Garifuna. I don't speak the language. There's so much more I can know and learn, and that I think that's perfectly okay. If you're gonna come for me for not knowing, I don't know, teach me. Like let's educate each other. We don't have to say like you're wrong for your experience. I don't see how
Yeah.
that's even helpful. That doesn't even make sense.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I don't know. I think people just need to be more open-minded, less quick to like criticize other people when they speak about their own personal experiences. And I don't know, I just feel like because in recent years there have been more, Black, dark-skinned Hispanics talking about their experiences, it's kind of created like this, I don't know, like some people they're like open to hearing it and they're like, okay, well, this is something we can work on then. But
Right.
then there's also people that reject it and they're like,
Yeah.
no, we don't, there is no racism in Latin America. Why
Yes.
are you saying that?
I
So
hear
it's
both.
just
Yeah, I
too,
hear both sides.
it's
I
just
hear
very
both.
weird.
Excuse me. I hear both sides all the time, and I'm like, you cannot take away from someone's
Yeah,
experience. You just cannot. Just because you didn't experience it doesn't mean the other person didn't experience it. I think about that with colorism all the time. Like when I hear Black Americans talk about light skin versus dark skin, that's never been my experience. I never even knew what that meant until high school. Like I don't have that experience of thinking of myself as inferior because of my skin tone, because no one treated me any differently because of my skin tone. Does
yeah,
that mean that there's no discrimination against people who are dark skinned? No. That just means I haven't had that type of
right,
experience. So we have to be willing to listen to each other, because why would anyone want to be vulnerable and share their story if everyone's just going to come attack them? And also, if you have been in that situation, let's empathize with that person. Let's try to see from their point of view. Don't gaslight someone and just ignore their story. Like, it's
right.
not helpful. Yeah.
No, I agree. I entirely agree. Yeah, but I mean, at the end of the day, though, I think it's a good thing that these conversations are being had because it has brought a lot of things to the surface that
Yeah.
maybe in the past were kind of swept under the rug. And
Exactly.
it's allowed for people to kind of open their eyes to what other people were experiencing that they may have been ignorant to. So,
Exactly.
I mean, I think overall it's moving us in a better direction,
Agreed.
speaking.
Yeah. It'll take time. It's not going to be comfortable the whole
Yeah, of
time.
course.
Yeah, it's going to be very uncomfortable. People are going to get heated, but then
Yeah.
we're going to come together.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know how active you really are on YouTube, but it can be a hot mess out in these YouTube streets. Let me tell you. Okay. It
Well,
can be a hot mess.
I'll be right
Especially,
back. I'm going to be there, so I have to brace myself for it.
yeah, especially when it comes to like topics of like race and
Yeah.
stuff, as far as Latinos go. Oh my gosh, it's always like a mess.
It gets hot. It's definitely a hot topic. People get heated because
Yes.
everyone's talking about me, me, me. My
Yeah.
experience. If you just get outside of yourself for 1 second, just 1 second, you don't even have to I always say you don't have to agree to understand. It's not about agree, disagree. Do you understand where this person's coming from? Yes or no? It's just that simple. If you don't understand, try to educate yourself. You don't want to educate yourself, well, then that's your problem. I don't know what to tell you. The facts are there. It's just you can't negate the facts. So
Exactly.
Here's what it is.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I hope that you can kind of get back on your mojo or whatever as far as your channel is concerned. I know it can be very easy to get burnt out. Like, I don't know if you've heard of the term YouTube burnout, but it's very real.
It's real.
You know, I've been on YouTube 3 years now, and for the most part, I have been very consistent. But there are times when it's like I just need to take a little break from producing content, at least. Also watch other people's stuff, but just from producing content myself, because it can be very draining and it is very time consuming, and sometimes you just run out of ideas. And it's like, I don't even know, what do people want to hear? What do they want to listen to? What do they want to talk about? So anyway, hopefully you can get back on that and, you know, continue representing for your people. It's definitely
you really did inspire me, because I really thought people forgot about me. I'm like just here living my life, working a 9 to 5, and I'm like I was getting discouraged. And I'm like, maybe YouTube just wasn't meant to be for me, you know. But I really will get back to it, and I want everyone to hold me accountable to that. I'm holding myself accountable. I just want it to be quality content. I think that might be a perfectionist in me, but nothing's ever gonna be perfect, and you're never gonna be ready. So whatever you want to do, just go for it. And I think over time things come and you get better with practice and everything. And I just have to not overthink it so much and just do it.
True. Yeah, well, I mean, hopefully, you know, from people watching this video, I'll send some subs your way. And,
thank
you know,
I appreciate it. I don't want them to sub and then have nothing to watch. Like, I have to get back on it. Like, no choice now.
Well, Sophia, that was all of my questions. I think we pretty much covered everything. You know, I appreciate you giving us a little insight into your culture and also talking to us about your experience. So to everyone watching, definitely go check out her channel. It is called Sophia Wishes. I will leave the link to her channel in the pinned comments and in the description box. And yeah, guys, hope everyone enjoys the rest of the day, and I'll catch you all in my next video. Bye.
Bye. Thank you.